G'day, Muzz.
G'day, Rosie.
It's time for another round of half-formed thoughts. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so pumped. I'm so
Awesome.
pumped.
Awesome. What are you pumped about, though?
Well, I am talking to you live from my newly established stand-up sit-down desk, which
Nice.
is the biggest investment I've made in my workflow and productivity in years, and that's pretty cool.
That's
What about
nice.
you? What's lighting you up this week?
Oh, what's lighting me up this week? There's a beautiful thing that happens when something is so important um, and time consuming that you get to focus on just that thing, right? Like you can justify throwing out everything else. There's
Yeah,
something nice about just getting deep into one sticky project. And I've had that privilege this week, so that's been fun.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, we've talked so much. I don't know, on these videos about the work that I do, but
Yeah.
I don't know if many people really know much about you, Rosie. How do you describe yourself and the work that you do?
Oh, look, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So in a corporate setting, people might refer to me as an operations strategist, a fractional COO, or something of that nature. But what I am that. I help people figure out habits and systems, not just so that they can do more, but really so that we can introduce uh, ease into their work and life, and so that they can finish more of the important stuff. That's what I do.
Right on. So you'd be something like a stand-up desk that lets me do this,
I'm basically a stand-up desk. That is.
or or are you maybe the system that the electric system that makes the stand-up desk go to the right height, maybe?
I don't know, mate. I really, this metaphor is crumbling on me real
Yeah,
hard.
it doesn't hold up. Fractional COO. I've always loved and hated this word because the idea of fractional seems to make sense to some people because, similar to me, like I get asked, are you a CMO? And I said, well, no, I guess a fractional CMO. I can do that. Walk me through a fractional COO.
Look, the title was given to me by other people. I wouldn't have called myself a fractional COO, but basically it's that if you're a company that isn't at the stage where you can have a full-time COO, or where it just doesn't make sense for the company because there's just not that breadth or depth of operations yet, you would bring in a fractional COO. Now, traditionally, fractional COOs would be kind of like retired CEOs and COOs. So people sort of in their, what do we call it? Encore career.
I like that.
Yeah, I was like moonlight, sunset. No, encore.
Cool. Yeah, that's nice.
Whereas there's this new sort of range of people coming up like me who have somehow at an earlier age experienced a breadth of careers. I was probably sort of like the first age group where it was appropriate to quit and do something else very, very quickly, and it wasn't people would still look at your resume and be like, oh, you've changed jobs a few times, but it wasn't like a deal breaker like it used to be. So for me, I studied accounting and, I did my internship at a Big Four and I was ready to go into that realm. So I understand finance and accounting. I worked in events. So that helped me learn deadlines and project management. Because those are real deadlines, live events are real deadlines. And then I worked as a marketing strategist for a while as well. So I've had this breadth. Oh, and I've been surrounded by startups for ages. I taught entrepreneurship in a university setting. So that breadth of experience sort of helps me, because when you're figuring out operations at a C-suite level within a company, even a very, very small company, you're really thinking about the overall strategy, the product and the price and the marketing, and the bookkeeping system all affect the operations of the company in some way. So yeah.
So this is something that I've always wondered, not just with you, but with anyone sort of working in more of an ops role, or sort of management, a non-founder role, I guess, in startups. How do you stay? How do you not throw yourself into one project? How do you not get swept up in the hype and the garbage around startups? Like, you're often, I mean, I'm guessing probably looking at the balance sheet or looking at the cash projections.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's those of us who don't want the founder life that end up in these operational employee style, like consultant style roles. Because I have no doubt that if I wanted to start a startup or co-found a startup, I could, and I'd do pretty good at it. But fact of the matter is, I've been around a lot of startups, and I just truly believe that unless you are ready to put your life into it for the next at least 5 years, probably at least 10 years to see through this idea, it's not worth co-founding, right? Go give that idea to someone else, or make it an open source project or something like that. But co-founding a company, you kind of want to be in it for the long run. Now, I'm someone who has, before I worked for myself, I worked for 24 different companies. Those were my full-time roles. There were also part-time and casual roles in there as well. The longest I've stayed in a job was sort of just over 2 years. And the longest I've stayed on a project as a freelancer or as a self-employed person or as a consultant, maybe a year, right? So I haven't yet come across the thing that I care about enough to go all in on, or go all in on for 5-10 years. And that's how I feel about, I don't get swept up in the hype, because I know I need to care about it a bunch to be able to see through that journey.
So I guess the other side to that is, why startups? Why on earth do you stick around and help, a bunch of people who are, better suited to the dole or welfare check?
Hey, that's a bit mean.
No, I mean, I know myself as a serial founder, I am inherently unemployable, like.
Yeah, but so am I.
Yeah.
I'm just not a founder. So why startups? Okay, so partly inertia. No, I'm kidding. Partly because that's the community I came up in. That's who I knew when I was employed. My last real job was at a startup. Before that was a startup. Before that was a startup hub, right? So like, I've always been in that ecosystem, and the reason I stayed around is because even though I don't want to be a founder, I have a lot more in common with founders than I do with corporates, even though I know how to interact with corporates and government and stuff like that. But I prefer a startup that's going well, that is really clear on its vision, is a great customer. That's an exciting customer, way more exciting than like a top tier company that, like, I just know who I like working. I know the kinds of people I like working with, and they tend to be either founders or small business owners.
Yeah.
For now, who knows?
Yeah. No, that's true. It's funny to think that. Yeah, I mean, I see you very much as a friend and a peer, but I forget that I am a bit older than you, and I probably did come up at a time when it was frowned upon. Like, I chopped and changed my careers so many times that, HR directors and recruiters would just say, mate, what do I do with this? Like, you've got so many skills, but I can't sell you in as a strategist if you've only done that in one strategist related role or whatever. But it's awesome to think that that's no longer the case.
That's also true, but like, there's also the thing of, you got to reach into your CV and your experience and create the story. There's a totally different topic, but create the story for the recruiter or the company that you're working for. Because you know, they're not, you know, if you're not clear on what your value is, they're not going to look through the soup and find it for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, I've learned a lot. I don't know necessarily if that's the sort of thing that other people will get stuff out of, but I'm always excited to learn about people who are pretty much the opposite of me. And even though we're very close, I think we are.
There's like a whole continuum. I think here's you, here's like most employed people, and then here's me. So I'm not the complete opposite. Anyway, yeah, well, maybe people will find it interesting to see what exists. Like there are a lot of roles in the startup world that aren't being the founder. And I think working for a startup or working with a startup as a consultant is a great way of finding out whether you can handle founding something.
100%. 100%. And
Good
if we're going to call this video anything, we should call it that. I reckon that is spot on.
Love it. All right.
Nice one.